Those of us who fought in Europe in World War II, and those of us who fought in the Pacific and in Korea and Vietnam, need no introduction to our honoree for 1996. Best remembered for his long-suffering soldiers who became known to all of you, depicted by pen and ink as Willie and Joe. As a reviewer of Bill Mauldin's first book, up front, wrote at age 23, he is recognized as an artist of major stature, and his drawings of the war ought to last as long as the history books. So there will never be another Bill Mauldin in the U.S. Army. Somebody asked him, what do you mean, why won't there be? He says, because the Pentagon would not let a Bill Mauldin exist in today's political correct society. Now, Bill, we're delighted you're with us. I hope you're strong. I know you got a bad hand from a Jeep accident. We have a little bust here of Harry Truman for you. I'll mail it to you. And in addition, here is this Good Neighbor Award plaque. I won't read it. It's written in the program. But get up here and welcome and thank you very much.
Well, what do I do now? It's very funny about Patton and me. It's too bad he's dead, because he would have, I think, probably gotten a charge out of this. I have been told on pretty good authority, this is a story that I never had heard before, that MacArthur, also noted as a great friend of Harry Truman's, you learn of these things late in life, you know. But MacArthur apparently, and I can only believe that this is true, it certainly is logical, but I have no proof of this, that he had laid down an edict shortly after the German surrender in Europe, that there were two people he did not want in his theater in the Pacific. And one of them, of course, was George S. Patton. You can understand that. I mean, MacArthur did not like to be upstage. But the other one was me. As far as Harry Truman is concerned, there was a cartoonist named Walt Kelly. I'm sure a lot of you know about him, the guy who did Pogo. And Walt Kelly and I worked for the New York Star, which was founded on the ashes of the old PM newspaper. Walt and I were the only people on the staff of that paper who were for Harry Truman in 1948. Everybody else seemed to be yearning for Henry Wallace, for God's sakes, you know, on the PM, all the PM graduates. So Kelly and I had a lot of fun with the Truman Dewey campaign. We were the only paper in New York which supported Harry Truman. All other papers were for Dewey. Kelly had come off the street, so to speak, where he was freelancing his comic strip Pogo. I came from the New York Herald Tribune. The Star was founded on the remains of the old PM, and most of the staff were old PM people, which means they were all considerably left of center, and we're inclined to think that Henry Wallace should have been president. So anyway, Walt Kelly and I were of a different persuasion. Our man was Harry Truman. And this made us really a minority in New York. We were about as small a minority as anybody could ask for. And we had a lot of fun with that campaign. We really did. And all the Republican newspapers, the Herald Tribune, the Times, all of the conservative, and a lot of them still existed then too, were all set for big celebrations when Dewey won. And I'd ordered cases of champagne and mountains of sandwiches and so on for the great occasion. And as the evening progressed and the voting records came in, and it became obvious that HST was going to win that election, the Republican stalwarts folded up their tents. They all poured the champagne into the gutters and where they thought it belonged, and went home. And we celebrated. We celebrated in whatever local bars we could find. That is to say, that didn't include the staff of the paper either. They were as disconsolate as the Republicans were. So we found out what it was like to be prophets in the forbidden territory. And it was that was the beginning of my association with Harry Truman. Oh, and I remember one time Harry Truman asked me to come and hold a crowd for him. I did a little better job in those days. I was younger and fierier and a better orator. And I did it in, by golly, it might have been even Kansas City. I don't think it was, but it was someplace like Kansas City where there was a huge crowd of people. And Truman wanted me to hold him for him because he was going to be a little bit late. So I was, as you can see, I was very much of a partisan of his, and even a little bit of a functionary in those days. I have established my credentials as a Truman man, I think.
You have, sir. Congratulations.